Hi there. In the Coastal Cowl, I placed beads on the bind off at the edges of my chevron, and in today's tutorial video I'm going to demonstrate to you how I did that. So I did not put any beads onto my working yarn. The beads are right here, and I've got these really thin crochet hooks. So I've got this one here, which is like a 0.75 millimeter crochet hook, or you can get something like the Fleegle Beader. This one is a 1 millimeter Fleegle Beader, and it depends what you like. With the Fleegle Beader, you can put a couple beads onto your crochet hook, onto the Fleegle Beader at once, like this. Alrighty. Whereas with a traditional crochet hook, you can only fit as many beads onto the hook until you get to the wide part. So right here, I can only fit 3 beads on at a time. So it just depends what your preference is. I'll use the Fleegle Beader for this. Okay, so to begin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bind off my stitches until I've bound off right above this spine. If you notice that spine, I want my beads to be right above there when they're placed. So I'm going to bind off 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, and the 4th stitch is here, leaving me right above that spine. The bind off, you shouldn't count the stitches that you knit with a bind off. You're only counting the ones that hop over. So essentially I've knit 5 stitches in order to bind off 4. All right, so I took that stitch off of the knitting needle, off of my right hand needle, the remaining stitch from the bind off, and I'm putting the stitch on the Fleegle Beader. Then I am going to pull a bead right over that yarn, right over the stitch here, and it's resting right there. Then I replace the stitch on my right hand needle. Now, for many beading projects, you can just carry on and there's your beaded stitch. Super. In this case, I want to have a little bit of extra height with those chevrons, so I'm going to work a yarn over here and then bind off that stitch, the beaded stitch over the yarn over. That just gives a little extra height here, sort of an increase, if you will. And then I'm going to continue my bind off. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7 leaves me right above that spine. I'm going to take the stitch off of my knitting needle, put the stitch on the Fleegle Beader or my crochet hook, and then I'm going to carefully bring the bead over the yarn off of the hook. So the hook hangs onto the yarn, or the stitch rather, while it's being pulled through the bead. Okay, and again, my pattern has that funky little instruction of make a yarn over and then pull your beaded stitch over the yarn over. Again, just to make it a little extra loose so that when you block it, you can really pull those beads out and let them sit at a nice point. All right, and then you're going to continue in that fashion, binding off these 7 so that you're right above the spine, and then placing a bead on that spine stitch, yarning over, binding off that spine beaded stitch, and then binding off another 7. And you're going to continue in that way all the way to the center. You want to make sure that that beautiful spine you've worked so hard to put in the center of the piece also gets a bead right above it. So just keep your eye on the stitches here as you're binding off. You don't have to pay too much attention to counting, as long as you can see where your spines are. Happy beading!